The stars looked cold and distant through the viewing screen of the cargo ship. The vessel moved slowly through the empty space between solar systems. Its name was painted on the hull in white letters, Meridian's Hope. Inside the ship, crew members walked through narrow corridors, checking systems and making sure everything worked properly. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in her chair on the bridge. She was a woman in her early 40s with short dark hair and calm brown eyes. She had been flying ships for 20 years. Before that, she wore a different uniform and commanded different vessels. Those were military ships built for war. Now she commanded a cargo hauler that carried medical supplies and equipment for building colonies on distant worlds. Or so it appeared. "Captain, we're approaching the Outer Rim neutral zone," said First Officer James Chen. He was younger than the captain, with sharp eyes and quick hands. He stood at his station, watching the sensor displays. "Should be quiet out here. No traffic reported for 3 weeks." Elena nodded slowly. "Keep scanning. Quiet places sometimes get loud without warning." James understood what she meant. He had served with her before, back when they both wore military uniforms. They had seen action together during the border conflicts. They knew how quickly peace could turn into chaos. The ship continued forward. Hours passed. The crew worked their shifts. Everything seemed normal and boring, just another day hauling cargo across the galaxy. Then the sensors began beeping. "Contact," James said sharply. 3 ships dropping out of stealth mode. Distance 20,000 kilometers. They're moving to intercept. Elena leaned forward in her chair. "Identify them." "Reading Zathic energy signatures," another crew member reported. "Configuration matches Raider-class warships." A smile touched Elena's lips, barely visible. Well, here we go. Sound general alert. Get everyone to their stations." Alarms rang through the ship. Crew members who had been relaxing in their quarters suddenly moved with purpose. They ran to their positions. Hatches sealed. Systems came online that had been sleeping. The 3 Zathic ships grew larger on the viewing screen. They were ugly vessels built for intimidation. Sharp angles and weapon ports covered their hulls. They looked like predators, and that was exactly what they were. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer said. "Put it through," Elena ordered. The screen changed to show a Zathic commander. He was a large creature with 4 arms and scaled skin that reflected the light. His mouth was filled with sharp teeth. His eyes were yellow with vertical pupils like a reptile. He wore armor decorated with symbols that showed his kills and victories. "Human vessel," the Zathic said in rough but understandable English. "You are surrounded. Power down your engines. Prepare to be boarded. If you resist, we will destroy you. If you comply, you may survive." Elena stood up slowly. She smoothed her uniform and walked closer to the screen. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Meridian's Hope. We are a registered cargo vessel carrying humanitarian supplies. We are protected under Galactic Commerce Treaty provisions." The Zathic commander laughed. It was an unpleasant sound. "Treaties are for species with power to enforce them. Humans are new, weak. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are slow. You will give us your cargo and you will be grateful we let you live." "I see," Elena said calmly. "So you've studied us?" "Of course. We know everything about humans. You are small. Your technology is inferior. You have been in space for less than a century. You are prey pretending to be predators." Elena nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting assessment. Tell me, Commander." "I am Threxal, Slayer of Worlds, Terror of the Outer Rim." "Tell me, Threxal, in all your studies of humanity, did you learn where we come from?" The Zathic looked confused by the question. "Your homeworld, Earth? A garden world, soft, easy, it made you soft." "A garden world," Elena repeated. She glanced at James, who was now grinning. "You hear that, Chen? Earth is a garden world. Beautiful flowers and gentle breezes, Captain," James replied, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Elena looked back at the screen. "Commander Threxal, I'm going to give you one chance. Turn around. Leave this system. Forget you ever saw us. Do this and you'll live to raid another day." The Zathic commander roared with laughter. His crew behind him joined in. "You threaten me? You are one ship." "We are 3! You are cargo haulers!" "We are warriors. You will surrender or die," Elena sighed. "Very well. You've made your choice. But don't say I didn't warn you." She cut the transmission. "All hands, this is the captain," she said over the ship-wide intercom. "We have hostile contact. 3 Zathic raiders are moving to intercept. They want our cargo. They think we're easy prey. She paused.
Show them why that's a mistake.
Execute Protocol Omega. Throughout the ship, things began to change. Cargo containers that had looked ordinary suddenly shifted. Hidden panels slid open. Weapon systems emerged. Missile pods rotated into firing position. Point defense turrets extended from concealed hatches. The ship's power signature changed as military-grade reactors came online, replacing the fake civilian energy readings. In the crew quarters, men and women opened lockers and pulled out combat armor. They checked weapons with practiced ease. These were not ordinary cargo handlers. They were veterans, soldiers who had seen combat and survived. They had signed up for boring cargo runs to earn quiet money after their service ended, but they had never forgotten their training. James pulled up tactical displays. Zathik ships are closing. They're launching boarding craft. Looks like 12 shuttles. Probably 6 warriors per shuttle. They're planning to overwhelm us with numbers. Let them come, Elena said. She returned to her chair. Prepare to receive boarders. Set internal defense grid to automatic. Seal all sections except designated entry points. Aye, Captain, James replied. His fingers danced over his console. Throughout the ship, bulkheads reinforced themselves. Hidden barriers rose. Corridors became segmented. The ship's internal layout changed from a simple cargo hauler to a maze designed for defensive combat. The Zathik boarding shuttles approached. They latched onto the hull with magnetic clamps. Cutting torches began burning through the outer airlock doors. Elena watched on her monitors. Engineering, are we ready? All systems green, Captain, came the reply. Just like old times. Just like old times, Elena agreed. Weapons, do we have firing solutions on all 3 Zathik ships? Locked and loaded, Captain. Awaiting your order. Not yet. Let them board. Let them commit. I want them to understand what they've done before we finish this. The first Zathik warriors breached the hull. They poured into the ship, roaring their battle cries. They expected fear. They expected panic. They expected easy victory. What they got would be very different. Elena sat in her chair, completely calm. She had fought in 3 wars. She had defended colonies against pirates, rebels, and worse. She had been trained by Earth Defense Force, the same military that had survived nuclear wars, climate disasters, and near-extinction events on their homeworld. Humans didn't get to the stars by being weak. They got there by being too stubborn to die. Here they come, James said quietly. Good, Elena replied. Let's teach these raiders why you don't attack human ships. The Zathik thought this would be easy. They were about to learn the truth. Humans were never easy prey. The Zathik warriors moved through the breached airlock with confidence. They were large creatures, each standing over 2 meters tall. Their forearms carried various weapons, plasma rifles, blade guns, and shock spears. Their scaled armor gleamed under the ship's lights. They had done this hundreds of times before. Board a weak ship. Take the cargo. Kill anyone who resisted. Simple work for professional raiders. Commander Threxall led the first group personally. He wanted to see the fear in human eyes. He wanted to watch them beg. Behind him, 72 of his best warriors spread through the ship in organized groups. They had studied the layout. They knew where the bridge was. They knew where the cargo holds were. They knew where the crew quarters should be. Everything seemed normal at first. The corridors were plain metal. The lights were standard. The air smelled like any other ship. Recycled oxygen mixed with machine oil and human sweat. Nothing special. Nothing dangerous. They found the first human crew members in a cargo bay. 5 humans stood with their hands raised. They wore simple work uniforms. They looked scared. They looked helpless. Perfect. You. Threxall pointed at the nearest human, a young man with red hair. Where is your captain? Bridge, the man said, his voice shaking. Please don't hurt us. We're just cargo handlers, Threxall laughed. Cargo handlers on a cargo ship. How appropriate. You will help us load your supplies onto our vessels. Do this and perhaps you live. The humans nodded quickly. Too quickly. But Threxall didn't notice. He was too busy feeling proud of his easy victory. He sent half his warriors to secure the cargo. The rest would take the bridge. He personally led the bridge team. This was the moment he enjoyed most, seeing the captain's face when they realized they had lost. The group moved through the corridors. The ship seemed larger inside than it should be. The corridors had many turns. The layout was confusing. Threxall frowned. This didn't match the plans they had studied. "Commander," one of his warriors said, "this section seems reinforced. These walls are thicker than normal cargo ship construction." "Humans are paranoid," Threxall replied. "They probably fear asteroid strikes." "It means nothing," they continued forward. Behind them, the cargo handlers they had found watched them go. The young man with red hair pressed his hand against the wall. A hidden panel opened. Inside was a small control pad. He entered a code. Throughout the ship, things began to happen. Threxall was halfway to the bridge when he heard a loud clang. He spun around. A massive bulkhead door had dropped from the ceiling behind his group. It sealed with a hiss of pressurizing locks. "What?" he started to say. Another door dropped ahead of them, then another. Within seconds, his group of 12 warriors was trapped in a 30-meter section of corridor. They were cut off from the rest of his boarding party. "Blast through," Threxall roared. His warriors fired their plasma rifles at the bulkhead. The weapons were powerful enough to melt through most ship hulls. But these doors barely glowed from the heat. The metal was reinforced. Military-grade, Threxall felt the first touch of worry. "All teams, report," he shouted into his communicator. Static answered him. The metal walls were blocking the signal. Then the walls themselves began to move. Panels slid open along the corridor. Behind them were not cargo compartments or equipment lockers. Behind them were weapons. Automated turrets emerged. Gun barrels tracked toward the trapped Zathic warriors. "Take cover!" Threxall screamed. There was no cover. The corridor was bare. The turrets opened fire. The Zathic had good armor, but the weapons were designed for ship defense. High-caliber rounds tore through scaled hide. Energy weapons burned through protective plates. Warriors fell, roaring in pain and surprise. Threxall dove to the floor. Around him, his elite soldiers died. These weren't cargo ship security measures. These were military kill zone defenses. The kind of weapons you found on warships, not civilian vessels. What had they boarded? The firing stopped as suddenly as it started. Smoke filled the corridor. Threxall checked himself. Wounded, but alive. 5 of his warriors still moved. 7 were dead or dying. A speaker crackled to life above him. "Commander Threxall," a calm female voice said. He recognized it as the human captain. "I want you to understand something. You studied humanity. You thought you knew us. But you made a critical error. What is this?" Threxall gasped. Blood dripped from wounds in his side. "This is a Q-ship," Captain Vasquez explained. "Do you know what that is? In Earth's ancient ocean wars, some nations would disguise warships as merchant vessels. They looked harmless. Pirates would attack them. Then the merchants would reveal their true nature and destroy the pirates. We learned that lesson well." Threxall's mind raced. Q-ship, disguised warship. That meant, "The Meridian's Hope is registered as a cargo vessel." The captain continued. "And it does carry cargo. But every deep space human ship has dual purpose. We lost too many colonies to raiders in our early years. Never again. Every civilian ship can become a warship. Every cargo crew is trained for combat. You didn't attack merchants, Commander. You attacked soldiers." Throughout the ship, the other Zathic teams were learning the same lesson. The humans they had captured suddenly weren't acting scared anymore. In the cargo bay, the 5 helpless workers moved with deadly speed. The red-haired young man pulled a weapon from behind a crate he had been standing near. It was a human assault rifle, brutal and simple in design. The Zathic warriors in the cargo bay barely had time to raise their weapons. The humans had already taken defensive positions. They had been hurting the raiders exactly where they wanted them. Now the Zathic stood in an open area with no cover while humans fired from behind cargo containers. The battle was short and bloody. In another section, a Zathic squad found themselves in a corridor that suddenly lost gravity. They floated helplessly while armed humans wearing magnetic boots entered from both ends. The warriors couldn't aim properly. They spun in the air, disoriented. The humans picked them off one by one. Another group tried to cut through to the engineering section. They succeeded in breaching the door, only to find the entire room filled with a gas that made them dizzy and weak. Their armor's environmental systems couldn't filter it fast enough. Human crew members in sealed suits waited patiently for them to collapse. The Zathic had superior strength and better weapons. But the humans had preparation, training, and the home advantage. They knew every inch of their ship. They had turned it into a fortress. Every corridor was a potential trap. Every room could become a battlefield designed to favor the defenders. Commander Threxall listened to the sounds of fighting echo through the walls. He heard his warriors dying. He heard human voices giving calm professional orders. These weren't panicked civilians. These were experienced soldiers executing a well-practiced defense plan. "My ship," he said into the dead communicator. "Destroy this vessel. Fire all weapons," but his ship couldn't hear him. And even if they could, they were about to have their own problems. Outside, the Meridian's hope was changing. What had looked like cargo pods along the hull suddenly opened. Missile launchers emerged. Point defense cannons extended. The ship's energy signature spiked as massive reactors came fully online. On the bridge, Captain Vasquez watched her tactical display. "Weapons free," she said quietly. "Target their engines. I want prisoners, not corpses. We'll need them to answer questions." The disguised warship opened fire. The Zothic raiders, expecting an easy fight, were suddenly facing a fully armed military frigate. They had attacked a human ship thinking it would be easy. They were learning just how wrong they had been, and the lesson had only just begun. The first Zothic warship died quickly. It never had a chance to raise shields or return fire. The missiles from the Meridian's Hope struck its engine section with precise accuracy. Explosions bloomed across the raider's hull. The ship spun out of control, venting atmosphere and debris. On the bridge of the second Zothic vessel, the captain stared in shock at his screens. "What just happened?" "The human ship fired on us. It has military-grade weapons," his sensor officer screamed. "Reading multiple missile batteries, energy cannons, and active defense grids. This is not a cargo vessel. All ships, combat formation," the Zothic captain ordered. "Return fire. Destroy them." But the humans had the advantage of surprise. While the raiders scrambled to respond, the Meridian's Hope was already maneuvering. The ship moved with grace that no cargo hauler should possess. Its drives were military specification, hidden beneath false readings until the moment they were needed. First Officer James Chen managed the tactical station with calm efficiency. Second volley away, targeting the lead ship's weapon systems. Point defense active. Their return fire is poorly coordinated. They expected a static target, Captain Vasquez said. They planned for boarding actions, not ship-to-ship combat. "Keep hitting them." "Don't give them time to adapt." The battle in space was almost unfair. The Zothic had numbers, but the humans had preparation, training, and better technology than they had revealed. Every shot from the Meridian's Hope was calculated and precise. The raiders' shots were panicked and scattered. Inside the ship, the real lesson in human warfare was taking place. Commander Threxall had managed to get his surviving warriors to a defensible position in what appeared to be a storage room. They had pulled cargo containers together to form a barricade. 5 warriors remained with him, all wounded. They waited for the human attack they knew would come. But the attack came in a way they didn't expect. The lights went out. Complete darkness filled the room. The Zothic had good night vision, but without any light at all, even they were blind. "Night vision," Threxall ordered. His warriors activated the sensors in their helmets. The world became visible again in shades of green. Then the temperature began to drop. "Commander, the environmental systems," one warrior said. "They're draining the heat." It was true. Within minutes, the room became freezing cold. The Zothic were reptilian. Cold made them slow and sluggish. Their movements became stiff. Their thoughts became foggy. "They're using the ship against us," Threxall realized. He felt stupid for not seeing it earlier. Of course, the humans controlled the environmental systems. They could adjust gravity, atmosphere, temperature, pressure, anything. The ship itself was a weapon. "We need to move," he said. "Find another position. Somewhere they can't seal us in." They abandoned their barricade and moved toward a door. It opened easily, which should have been a warning. They entered a corridor. Behind them, the door sealed. Ahead, another door opened. They were being herded. "It's a trap," Threxall said. But what choice did they have? Stay in the freezing room and die slowly? Or move forward into whatever the humans had planned? At least moving gave them a chance to fight. They went forward. The corridor opened into a larger space. It appeared to be a cargo hold. Containers were stacked along the walls. The center was open. The lights came back on, bright and sudden. The Zothic warriors blinked, their eyes struggling to adjust. Then the humans appeared. They emerged from behind containers, from doorways, from overhead catwalks. 12 humans, all armed, all wearing light combat armor. But they weren't shooting. They were just watching. One human stepped forward. She was the captain. Elena Vasquez stood with her arms crossed, no weapon visible. She looked at Threxal with an expression that wasn't quite pity but close to it. "Commander Threxal, Slayer of Worlds, Terror of the Outer Rim," she said. "You wanted to know about humans. Let me educate you." Threxal raised his plasma rifle. "You will die, human." "Maybe," Elena agreed. "But not today. And not by you. See, you made assumptions about us. You thought because we've only been in space for 80 years that we're primitive. You thought because our ships look simple that we're simple. But you forgot to ask the important question." "What question?" Threxal demanded. "How did we survive long enough to reach the stars?" Elena began walking slowly around the open space. Her crew kept their weapons trained on the Zathik but didn't fire. This was their captain's moment. "Earth isn't a garden world, Commander. It's a death world. Do you know what that means? It means our planet has tried to kill us for millions of years. Ice ages that covered continents. Plagues that killed millions. Predators with claws and teeth. We evolved on a world that wanted us dead, and we survived." She stopped walking and looked directly at Threxal. "We survived because we're adaptable, because we're creative, because we never ever give up. We fought animals that were bigger and stronger. We won by being smarter. We fought diseases we couldn't see. We won by learning medicine. We fought each other in wars that nearly destroyed us. We won by learning peace. Every challenge made us harder. Every disaster made us tougher." "You talk too much," Threxal snarled. He fired his weapon. Elena had already moved. She was fast, much faster than he expected. The plasma bolt missed her by centimeters. Before he could fire again, the humans shot. Not to kill. They aimed for weapons and limbs. Precise shots that disarmed without killing. The Zathik warriors fell, their weapons destroyed or torn from their grips. Threxal found himself on the ground, his rifle smoking and useless. His armor had stopped the bullets from killing him, but he couldn't fight anymore. Elena walked over and looked down at him. "We don't enjoy killing, Commander. We've seen too much death in our history, but we're very, very good at it when we need to be. You thought we were prey because we're small and new to space, but humans have been predators since we lived in caves and hunted with stone weapons. We've been warriors since we first picked up sticks to defend our families. You didn't attack sheep. You attacked wolves who were pretending to be sheep. Throughout the ship, the last Zathik raiders were being rounded up. Some surrendered when they realized they couldn't win. Others fought to the end and died. The humans showed mercy to those who gave up. They showed none to those who continued fighting. In space, the battle was over. 2 Zathik ships were crippled and drifting. The third had tried to run, but the Meridian's hope was faster. It caught up easily and disabled the fleeing raider with shots to its engines. Captain Vasquez opened a channel to all 3 Zathik ships. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez. Your boarding parties are defeated. Your ships are disabled. You have 2 choices. Surrender and face trial under galactic law, or continue fighting and die here. You have 30 seconds to decide." On the bridge of the lead Zathik ship, the captain looked at his ruined vessel. His crew was injured. His weapons were offline. His engines were destroyed. He had attacked what he thought was an easy target. Instead, he had found a predator disguised as prey. "We surrender," he said quietly. "Wise choice," Elena replied. "Stand by for boarding. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." She closed the channel and looked at James. "Get recovery teams ready. Secure the prisoners. Send a message to Galactic Peacekeeping. Tell them we have prisoners for trial and we need pickup." "Already done, Captain," James said with a smile. "They're sending a fleet. They want to see the ship that took out 3 Zathik raiders alone." "We're not alone," Elena said. "We have a crew of 30. Each one is a veteran. Each one knows their job. That's what makes us dangerous." Below in the cargo hold, Commander Threxal was being treated for his wounds by a human medic. The medic was gentle and professional. She gave him medicine for pain. She bandaged his injuries. She treated him like a person, not an enemy. "Why?" he asked weakly. "Why help me? I tried to kill you." The medic looked at him. She was young, probably hadn't seen 30 years yet. But her eyes were old. "Because that's what humans do. We fight when we must, but when the fighting stops, we heal. Even our enemies, maybe especially our enemies. How else do you turn enemies into friends?" Threxal closed his eyes. He had learned more about humans in 1 hour than his species had learned in years of study. They were not soft. They were not weak. They were not easy prey. They were survivors who had turned survival into an art form, and attacking them had been the worst mistake of his life. The medical bay of the Meridian's Hope was filled with injured Zothic warriors. Human medics moved between them, providing treatment without judgment. The prisoners watched with confusion and something like shame. They had expected torture or execution. Instead, they received the same level of care as the injured human crew members. Commander Threxall sat on a medical bed, his wounds cleaned and bandaged. A human doctor checked his vital signs with gentle hands. The doctor was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. "You'll live," the doctor said. "Your species has impressive natural healing. The plasma burns will scar, but the tissue damage isn't permanent." "Why do you care?" Threxall asked. "We are your enemies," the doctor smiled sadly. "Right now you're my patient. That's all that matters. I took an oath to heal, not to judge." The commander looked around the medical bay. Human and Zothic wounded lay side by side. "I do not understand your species." "Join the club," the doctor laughed. "We barely understand ourselves. But that's what makes us interesting, I suppose." On the bridge, Captain Vasquez reviewed damage reports. The Meridian's Hope had taken some hits during the battle, but nothing critical. 2 crew members had minor injuries. All systems were functional. The 3 Zothic ships were secured and under guard. 74 raiders were prisoners. 15 had died in the fighting. "Galactic peacekeeping fleet is 30 minutes out," James reported. "They're sending 3 cruisers and a diplomatic vessel. They want to investigate what happened here." "Let them investigate," Elena said. "We have nothing to hide. We defended ourselves against pirates. That's legal under any law." "They're also sending reporters," James added with a grin. "This is going to be big news. Human cargo ship defeats 3 Zothic raiders. The galaxy is going to notice." Elena sighed. "I hate reporters. But I suppose it's necessary. Maybe it will make others think twice before attacking human vessels." She stood and stretched. "I'm going to talk to the Zothic captain." "Where is he?" "Brig Cell 3. He's been quiet. Hasn't said a word since we locked him up." Elena made her way through the ship. Crew members nodded respectfully as she passed. They had fought well and they knew it. There was pride in their eyes, but also relief. Combat was never easy, even when you won. The brig was a small section of the ship with 6 cells. Most were empty. 3 held Zothic officers. The rest of the prisoners were secured in a converted cargo hold under guard. The Zothic captain sat on a bench in his cell. He was smaller than Threxall, but older, with scars covering his scales. His armor had been removed. He wore only simple clothes. He looked up when Elena approached. "Come to mock me?" he asked in accented English. "No," Elena said. She pulled over a chair and sat facing the cell. "I came to talk. Ship captain to ship captain." The Zothic studied her. "You are strange beings, humans. You fight like demons. Then you heal your enemies. You disguise warships as cargo vessels. You are not what you appear to be." "Neither is anyone, if you look close enough," Elena replied. "What's your name, Captain?" "Vreknar. Clan leader of the Red Talon fleet, or I was. Now I am a failure who led his warriors into a trap." "You led your warriors into a mistake," Elena corrected. "There's a difference." "Tell me, Captain Vreknar, what did your intelligence report say about humans?" Vreknar leaned back against the wall. "That you are young, that you have few ships, that your technology is basic, that you are divided into many nations that fight among themselves, that you are no threat to established powers. And based on that, you decided we were easy targets." "Yes. Many species make their fortune raiding the weak. Humans appeared weak. We were wrong." Elena nodded slowly. "You were wrong because your intelligence is outdated. Yes, we're young in space. We've only had faster than light travel for 80 years. Yes, we're divided. Earth has over 200 nations. Our colonies are spread thin. But do you know how we got to space?" "You developed the technology," Vreknar said with a shrug. "We developed it because we had to," Elena corrected. "A century and a half ago, Earth was dying. Climate change, pollution, nuclear weapons, overpopulation. We were destroying ourselves. We faced a choice: change everything or go extinct. So we changed. We learned to work together. We cleaned our planet. We reduced our weapons. We looked to the stars because staying on Earth meant death." She leaned forward. "That's what you don't understand about us. We're survivors. We survived millions of years of evolution on a planet that wanted us dead. We survived ice ages and plagues. We survived global wars that killed hundreds of millions. We survived nearly destroying ourselves with our own technology. Every challenge made us adapt. Every disaster made us stronger. You make it sound noble, Reknar said. But survival is not special. Every species survives. Not every species survives the way we do, Elena said. Most species develop on stable worlds. They grow strong in peaceful times, but when they face real challenges, they break. We developed on a death world. We grew strong through constant struggle. When we face challenges, we don't break. We evolve, we adapt, we overcome. She stood up. That's why attacking human ships is a mistake, Captain. You see cargo vessels. We see mobile fortresses. You see civilians. We see veterans who served their time and chose peaceful work but never forgot how to fight. You see weakness. We see opportunity to prove our strength. Your words sound like threats, Reknar said quietly. They're not threats. They're facts. Humans don't want war. We've had enough war to last 1,000 years. But we also refuse to be victims. Every human ship in space is built with dual purpose. Every crew is trained for combat. We learned from our history. We learned from the colonies we lost to raiders in our early years. Never again. The communication system crackled. Captain, to the bridge. Peacekeeping fleet is arriving. I have to go, Elena said. Think about what I said, Captain. When you tell your story to the peacekeepers, be honest. Tell them you attacked what you thought was prey and found predators. Maybe it will save the next raider from making the same mistake. She left him sitting in his cell. Reknar stared at the wall, thinking. His entire worldview had been shattered. The Zuthic Confederation had built their power on raiding weaker species. They had ruled through strength and fear. But humans were different. They didn't fear the Zuthic. They pitied them. That was somehow worse than hatred. On the bridge, Elena watched as 3 massive cruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were galactic peacekeeping vessels, representing the alliance of peaceful species that maintained order in civilized space. Behind them came a diplomatic ship, smaller but heavily shielded. Incoming transmission, James said. Put it through. The screen showed an alien figure. It was a Verath, a species known for wisdom and diplomacy. The creature had 6 eyes and soft gray skin. It wore robes of office that marked it as a senior diplomat. Captain Vasquez, the Verath said in a melodious voice. I am Ambassador Kelleth. We received your distress beacon and your report. You claim to have defeated 3 Zothic raiders while defending yourself. That's correct, Ambassador. We have prisoners and evidence. The raiders attacked without provocation. We defended ourselves within the bounds of galactic law, so we understand. However, the Zothic are claiming you attacked them. They say you ambushed peaceful traders. Elena's eyes went cold. Ambassador, my ship has full sensor logs. We have communications records. We have everything. The Zothic threatened us, boarded us, and attempted to steal our cargo. We defended ourselves. If they claim otherwise, they're lying. Kelleth studied her for a moment. We will investigate thoroughly. In the meantime, prepare to receive inspectors. We will examine your ship, interview your crew, and speak with the prisoners. We welcome the investigation, Elena said firmly. We have nothing to hide. The ambassador nodded. There is another matter. News of this engagement is spreading quickly. Multiple species are requesting information. Human ships defeating Zothic raiders is unprecedented. Many want to know how you did it, Elena smiled. Tell them the truth, Ambassador. We did it because we're human, and humans don't make easy prey. The transmission ended. James looked at his captain. Think this will change things? I hope so, Elena said. Maybe now the raiders will think twice. Maybe now humanity will get the respect we deserve. Or maybe they'll just send more ships next time. Then we'll defeat more ships, Elena said simply. That's what humans do. We face the challenge. We adapt, we overcome. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do, James agreed. The galactic peacekeeping inspectors would arrive soon. The investigation would take days. But Elena wasn't worried. The truth was clear. Humans had been attacked. Humans had defended themselves. And humans had won. The galaxy was learning a new lesson. Don't underestimate humanity. It was a lesson that would change everything. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. The investigation was complete. The Galactic Peacekeeping Council had reviewed all evidence, interviewed every witness, and examined every sensor log. Their conclusion was unanimous and clear. The human vessel Meridian's Hope had acted in legal self-defense against pirate raiders. Captain Elena Vasquez and her crew were cleared of all wrongdoing. The Zothic prisoners faced different fates. The warriors would be imprisoned for 5 years and then deported. The captains, including Reknar and Threxal, would face longer sentences for organizing pirate raids. The Zothic Confederation was fined heavily and warned that further pirate actions would result in sanctions. But the legal outcomes were only part of the story. The real change was happening across the galaxy. Elena stood in a conference room on Galactic Station 7, the headquarters of the Peacekeeping Council. Around a large table sat representatives from dozens of species. Some were humanoid, others were very alien, with tentacles or multiple limbs or features that humans had no names for. All of them were looking at Elena with a new kind of respect. Ambassador Kelleth spoke first. Captain Vasquez, your testimony has been enlightening. The Council wishes to understand more about human defensive capabilities. Your ship was registered as a cargo vessel, yet it possessed military-grade weapons and training. How common is this among human ships? Elena stood to address the assembly. Ambassador, honored representatives, let me be clear. Every human deep space vessel has dual capability. We don't hide this fact. It's public record. Our ships are built to carry cargo and defend themselves. Our crews are trained in both civilian operations and combat tactics. This is standard policy for all human space operations. A reptilian delegate from the Sorath Empire raised a clawed hand. Why? Most species separate their civilian and military fleets. This seems inefficient. It comes from our history, Elena explained. When humans first reached the stars, we were naive. We thought space would be peaceful. We sent out colony ships with minimal weapons and inexperienced crews. We lost 3 colonies to raiders in the first decade. Thousands of humans died. Children, families, people who just wanted to build new lives on distant worlds. They died because we weren't prepared to defend them. She paused, letting that sink in. We learned from that mistake. Now every human ship can fight if needed. Every crew knows how to defend themselves. Yes, it costs more. Yes, it requires more training. But it means our people are safe. And after what happened to those early colonies, safety is worth any cost. A floating jellyfish-like creature pulsed with bioluminescence, its translation device speaking in a musical tone. But surely this makes human ships more aggressive. Does it not invite conflict? No, Elena said firmly. We don't start fights. Our weapons are defensive. We follow all galactic laws. We respect territorial boundaries. We trade fairly and honestly. But if someone attacks us, we defend ourselves completely and effectively. That's not aggression. That's survival. Ambassador Kelleth nodded slowly. The Council understands your position. However, there are concerns. Some species worry that humans are too militaristic, that you are preparing for war. Elena felt a flash of anger but controlled it. With respect, Ambassador, humans have fought more wars among ourselves than most species can imagine. We know what war costs. We know the price in lives and resources in future. We don't want war. We want peace. But peace doesn't mean being defenseless. Peace means being strong enough that others choose not to attack you. An insectoid representative clicked its mandibles. The Zothic chose to attack you. You destroyed 3 of their ships. Does this not prove you are dangerous? The Zothic are pirates, Elena replied. They attack the weak and steal from peaceful traders. They have raided dozens of species. We're the first to successfully defend ourselves and capture them alive. Does that make us dangerous? Or does that make us capable? There's a difference. The conference room fell silent. The representatives looked at each other, communicating in ways humans couldn't fully understand. Finally, Kelleth spoke again. Captain Vasquez, the Council has made a decision. We will not sanction human defensive practices. You have broken no laws. You have acted within your rights. However, we ask that humanity be more transparent about ship capabilities. Other species should know which vessels are armed so they can make informed decisions. We can do that, Elena agreed. We have nothing to hide. Our ships will broadcast their defensive status clearly. Any vessel that sees a human ship will know it can defend itself. That seems fair, Kelleth said. Is there anything else you wish to tell the Council? Elena thought for a moment. Yes. I want other species to understand something about humanity. We come from a world that tried to kill us. We evolved through struggle and hardship. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. But we learned, we grew. We became stronger and wiser. When we reached the stars, we didn't want to be conquerors. We wanted to be explorers and traders and friends. She looked around the room. meeting the eyes of each representative, but we also refuse to be victims. We've seen what happens when peaceful people have no way to defend themselves. We've studied history. We know that predators exist in every society. We know that some beings choose violence over cooperation. We can't change that, but we can make sure that choosing to attack humans is a bad decision. A deterrent, the insectoid representative clicked. Exactly. We don't want to fight. But if someone forces us to fight, we'll win. That's not a threat. It's a promise. And it's a promise we keep. The meeting continued for another hour, discussing details and policies. But the important points had been made. Humanity was here to stay. Humanity could defend itself. And humanity wouldn't be easy prey for anyone. After the meeting, Elena returned to the Meridian's Hope. The ship had been repaired and restocked. It was ready to complete its original mission, delivering medical supplies and terraforming equipment to a new colony. James met her at the airlock. How did it go? About as well as expected, Elena said. The council is satisfied. We're cleared to continue operations, and I think we made an impression. I saw the news feeds, James grinned. You're famous, Captain. They're calling you the woman who taught the galaxy not to mess with humans. Elena groaned. I hate fame. I just want to do my job. Too late for that. You're a symbol now. The human who fought back and won. There are already songs about the battle on at least 6 worlds. Songs. Really? Really? The Zothic are not happy about it. Apparently, being defeated by humans is deeply embarrassing for them. Their reputation as fearsome raiders has taken a serious hit. Good, Elena said. Maybe they'll choose a different career path. Something legal this time. They walked through the ship toward the bridge. Crew members were busy preparing for departure. Everyone seemed in good spirits. They had fought together and won together. They had proven themselves. Any word on Commander Threxal? Elena asked, still in custody. He's been talking to investigators. Apparently, he's been very helpful, giving them information about Zothic raiding operations. I hear he's trying to get his sentence reduced. Smart, he's adapting to his new situation. That's very human of him, James laughed. Maybe we're rubbing off on him. On the bridge, Elena took her chair. It felt good to be back in her proper place. The command center of her ship. The place where she belonged. All systems ready, Captain, the helm officer reported. Course laid in for the Arcturus colony. Good, take us out nice and steady, no rush. We've had enough excitement for a while. The ship undocked from the station and moved into open space. Behind them, the massive station glittered with lights from 100 different species. Ahead, the stars waited, cold and eternal. Elena watched the stars and thought about what had happened. 3 weeks ago, she had been just another cargo captain. Now she was famous across the galaxy. The woman who defeated the Zothic. The symbol of human strength. She didn't want to be a symbol. But if it helped protect other humans, she would accept it. The ship jumped to faster than light travel. The stars stretched into lines of light. They were heading to the colony where people waited for supplies, where families were building new homes on a distant world, where humans were doing what they had always done, surviving, adapting, growing stronger. Across the galaxy, the story spread. News networks from every species broadcast the tale of the human cargo ship that defeated 3 raiders. Some told it as comedy, laughing at the foolish pirates. Some told it as drama, emphasizing the battle. Some told it as warning, cautioning others not to underestimate humans. In bars and meeting halls, in ships and stations, beings talked about the incident. The story grew with each telling. Details were added or changed. But the core message remained the same. Humans were not easy prey. Pirate groups began avoiding human ships. Why risk attacking a vessel that might be a disguised warship? Why fight a crew that was trained for combat? Easier targets existed. Some species started copying human practices. They began training their civilian crews in defense. They armed their cargo ships. They learned from human example. The Zothic Confederation faced a crisis. Their reputation was damaged. The raiders were afraid. Young warriors questioned whether the old ways were still valid. Some suggested they should seek legitimate work instead of piracy.